Thom Hartmann here on the best of the rest of economic and labor news. You need to know this. As of the end of last October, super PACs and outside groups had already spent well over $200 million on the 2016 presidential race. And many experts suspect that actual spending far exceeds that amount. Now, thanks to the Federal Election Commission, candidates will have a much easier time helping those groups solicit and spend all that campaign cash. According to a recent article over at commondreams.org, the FEC has removed a little-known rule that kept candidates from asking people to donate to their super PACs. Just before Christmas, the FEC released a new opinion which said that candidates are no longer barred from soliciting donations as long as they meet with donors in very small groups. No, really. As Matea Gold, the Washington Post, explained, candidates are now permitted to meet privately with donors and super PAC operatives to talk about fundraising. Ms. Gold wrote, quote, "All that is required under the guideline is a written invitation, a formal program, and a disclaimer that the candidate is appearing as a, quote, special guest who is not, quote, soliciting large checks." The FEC issued this opinion in response to two Democratic super PACs, but that didn't stop two of the left-leaning members of the commission from speaking out against that recent commission decision. FEC Commissioner Ellen Weintraub told the Washington Post, "This is actually very dangerous if you're worried about corruption, the notion that these kind of small backroom meetings can take place." She added, "The fewer people you have in the room, the fewer protections you have against something unsavory happening." And she's exactly right. A small meeting with a formal invite doesn't prevent corruption. It makes unethical and possibly illegal collusion, frankly, far more likely. This is yet another example of why we must continue to fight to overturn Citizens United and put our democracy back in the hands of those who can't afford to meet privately with presidential candidates. Let's get money out and get back control of our elections. While some of our federal agencies go after the for-profit college companies that screw over students, our U.S. banking regulators are doing their part to stand up for college kids. Late last month, both the Federal Reserve and the FDIC ordered the financial firm Hire One Holdings to fork over millions because of their deceptive marketing about student loans. According to a recent article over at Huffington Post, Hire One provides colleges with loan disbursement services so that students can pay for books and living expenses. But that company neglected to provide students with any information about how they could get their loan money without signing up for a Hire One account. And they conveniently left out information about the fees associated with their one-account debit card. Although the company's CEO, Mark Scheinbaum, says that they've already made changes to address the issue, Hire One will have to pay out millions in restitution and fines for their deceptive practices. Thankfully, our banking officials have made it clear that they won't allow that kind of deception to continue. Despite what you may hear from Republicans, a new study shows that raising restaurant workers' wages does not lead to job losses. According to new research from Cornell University's School of Hotel Administration, small increases in restaurant workers' pay does not negatively affect profits or hiring. In order to test their theory, researchers studied 2 decades of federal and state minimum wage increases for tipped and regular workers. Although the National Restaurant Association claims that higher pay would force business owners to cut hours, limit hiring, or increase prices, the data show that claim is simply false. As many of us have explained all along, businesses, including restaurants, can afford to pay workers more. Now that we have the data, it's time to demand that all of our food service workers get a raise. Next time a Capital One commercial asks you what's in your wallet, hopefully you can answer with enough cash to pay off your Capital One account. According to a stunning new report from ProPublica, that company files a disturbing number of lawsuits against cardholders who get behind on small amounts of debt. Although the report found that numerous banks filed lawsuits in the wake of the 2008 recession, Capital One filed more than 500,000 lawsuits a year in the time that followed 2008. And that company filed suits over much smaller debts than other banks. ProPublica reports that Capital One's average lawsuit in 2013 in the state of New Jersey was for only $1,500. In comparison, the average suit of other banks was more than 3 times that amount. Capital One's excessive interest rates of up to 25% left many unable to pay. However, lawsuits allow the company to recoup most of their losses and write off the rest. Using our court system to harass the poor is just another way that companies rake in corporate welfare and harm consumers. And it's time that Capital One is investigated for filing excessive suits. And finally, the University of California school system is divesting $25 million from the private prison industry. Thanks to the work of black advocacy groups on campus, the university system will sell their shares in controversial companies like Geo Group Incorporated and Corrections Corporations of America. In the wake of numerous documented human rights violations by private prisons, members of the African Black Coalition met with university officials about divestment. There's still much work to be done to end our nation's racist incarceration policies, but with groups like this leading the way, we really can change this broken system. And that's the way it is for the week of January 4th, 2016. I'm Thom Hartmann on the Economic and Labor News.